Today's topic is about how to deal with shame. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I'm the author of the book You Matter and Brain and Performance Expert. Today I'm going to talk about shame to you and how can you cope up with it, how can you overcome shame, especially the toxic shame. But before we go ahead, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, hit that bell icon so that you receive my new video in your notifications. Let's go ahead and talk about shame today. Shame is a very powerful emotion that has a potential to shape our lives, and in a negative way. It can actually create a lot of disgrace, disrepute in our space, and it can actually make us feel worthless. It can make us feel unclean. Toxic shame is a feeling of being worthless or not as good as others. As a child or maybe in the teens, if some people have treated you poorly, and if it happened again and again, you made it your belief. And in turn, what happened is you started feeling the shame of not being good enough. Now, shame is not per se only a bad emotion. In some cases, it could be a good emotion where it can actually help you to become better version of yourself. But when it goes in a cycle, when it becomes a repetitive pattern or an emotion that you feel all the time, it takes a serious hit on your self-worth, your self-esteem, your confidence, and the way you look at yourself and the way the world treats you. Most often when you have this perpetual feeling of shame, you start attracting wrong relationships, you start attracting a lot of negativity around you, and you start attracting people in your life, those who keep telling you how you're not good enough. Has it happened to you or is it happening to you that you've fallen into the pattern of attracting toxic relationships one after another? You try to come out of that problem and then right back you get into it again. Same thing it may happen in your organization where you're working. Your boss may not be treating you well and you all the time keep feeling that there is something missing inside you. Now a lot of people need to understand this, that there's a difference between feeling guilt and feeling shame. Now sometimes guilt is an emotion that comes up when you've done something that reminds you, the guilt reminds you to correct that action, correct that behavior. And sometimes it's good in a relationship especially. But shame actually can damage you deeper. It can create a lot of hurt and trauma in your space, because what happens in the guilt is, if suppose you did something, the guilt says, the conversation, the internal conversation would be, when the guilt is going to come, that will say, oh, what you did was wrong. When you're going through shame, the inner conversation would be saying things like, what you did was wrong and that's why you're a bad person. You constantly label yourself as not being good enough or a bad person, and that's the reason you justify that why you don't get those opportunities or why you don't get that right kind of a relationship. Let me know in the comment box what kind of a relationship do you have with yourself? What kind of conversations do you have with yourself? Are they guilt-ridden or they shame-ridden? Do you say that what you did was wrong, or do you say because you did this wrong, you should be ashamed of yourself? We all have been through some sort of a shame sometime or the other in our life. But when does it become really toxic? And where does it come from? So most of the shame that becomes toxic is a very early childhood experiences. Let me give you an example, okay? Suppose you wet the bed and your parents were around, and there are two ways your parents may respond. The first way is they giving you the reassurance and saying that it's okay, it can happen, and you will overcome this, it will not continue to happen. And then there is another kind of parent who would overreact to the situation and say, you're always doing this, you get this, you don't understand this, and you're so good for nothing. Now, when there's an extra critical or parent who's himself or herself dealing with the shame and embarrassment in their life, they inflict the same behavior on their children. And then these children continue to feel the same shame inside them. I've seen families altogether, every person in that family dealing with shame in different way, and in different ways they have manifested shame in their life. Sometimes shame can manifest in terms of you not getting success at anything that you want to do, because that's the vibration that you are operating from. You want to feel the shame inside you, and that thing becomes so strong that any place that you put your hand in, it just doesn't turn out to be well. And then in turn, you not just start attracting criticism from the people in your life, but you start feeling very ashamed of yourself. There are conversations like, if suppose you were playing in the childhood, and or a teen, you're playing and you were not really studying at that point of time, and one of the parents came and said, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself, you're just playing and you're having so much fun, and your father is slogging and father is making an effort to make money. You will make 1 rupee and you will know what's happening. That's where you will understand the worth of the money. Now you see, it directly hit on your self-worth. Playing associated with shame. Now all of these kind of conversations, if you have gone through as a child and on autopilot, like you've seen your parent again and again doing these things to you, parent or a parent figure, doesn't matter, but if you have gone through and if you have heard these sentences again and again, it kind of creates a foundation in your space of shame. And in the book Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins has said that shame literally operates at 20 hertz. That's like the vibration of shame is the lowest, and after shame, according to him, is a dead body. So you can imagine what a low frequency, what a low energy you're carrying in your space. And with anything that you do with the low energy and low frequency, it's going to yield the low results. And it becomes like a self-sustaining cycle. That's where the toxic shame pulls people down in every area of their life. You start compromising in your foods. You will not invest in a good food items like organic or expensive items. You will probably not go to the doctors or dentist on the time, because you will keep giving yourself excuses about, oh, it's too expensive. You wouldn't mind, spending more money when you go to the hospitals because you didn't take care of yourself. So generally developing a tendency of penny wise, pound foolish. In your relationships, you will keep attracting, wrong people. You'll keep attracting the wrong kind of, relationships, and you will keep sensing that this person does not really respect me. This person does not really care about me. This person is always taking me for granted. In your money, you will create a situation that you're always in the tight situation related to money. Even if you make more money, somehow that month somebody will call you and say that, could you please lend me some money? And you will lend the person money and you will again go broke. And it becomes like a pattern that every time you make more money, somebody's asking that money from you, because deep inside, you want to feel broke and go through the shame. Now you see, a lot of you will take the objection to this sentence which I just said. A lot of you will feel, why will I have, most of times I've seen people getting furious. Why would I want to feel ashamed? Well, it's not the conscious thing. It's a very subconscious, subtle, vibrational thing that you go through, that you start attracting those kind of situations in your life. And every time you want that money back from that person and you tell them that, please give me my money back, this person is going to make lots of excuses for not giving the money. And what happens is, over a period of time, you actually start resenting making more money, because every time you make more money, there is somebody else who's going to ask that money. And you give that money. And can I give you the truth bomb right now? You're not giving that money because you want to help that person. Yes, that's partially true. But most important truth about giving the money to people is to make yourself feel good about yourself. Because your self-worth is so low that when you help other person, you start feeling good about yourself. And in the bargain, you create kind of like, parasites in your life. In your job or in your business, if you feel, you are operating from shame, the results that you'll be producing in your life are like, your vendors and your customers are negotiating a lot with you. They are not paying you on time. And you feel, how can I go and ask for my money? You may not get the opportunity for promotion, even though you are capable and even though you deserve it. And it goes to somebody else. Things like that. And if any of this resonates with you, let me know in the comment box, which one is it for you? Let me tell you, all of these experiences that I told you that you may be going through in your life are stemming from the shame, the toxic shame that you feel in your life. Now, these are the two common symptoms of shame. Either you may be getting into the withdrawal, like, if something happens, you just curl up and you just stop, you get disassociated, you don't want to connect with people, and you start feeling uncomfortable with yourself. You start feeling that this is not right, I'm not good enough, you start feeling like an imposter. You start feeling like it's not right. You can't be in this place. And even if you get a greatest opportunity, you self-sabotage. A lot of children, if you see that, they start self-harming themselves. A lot of children, you see that they cut themselves. This is a way to deal with the shame that they feel inside them. The emotional trauma can lead to a lot of physical damage that these kids are doing to themselves. And the second symptom is anger. Sudden anger, spike into the anger without you need a slightest of challenge and you just flare up. And these are the two symptoms that also can lead to eating disorders, sleeping disorders, feeling like not able to take the healthy risk. So living in your own means, like not really growing in your life and staying where you are and then feeling stuck. It's a very, very low and negative sort of an emotion that you go through, and these feelings determine the quality of your life. As I've been talking about shame, I also want to tell you that the one thing that you will do for yourself when you are going through this emotion is please do not ignore it. Be more compassionate towards yourself. Like, how would you be dealing with a 5-year-old? Same way you have to deal with yourself. Everyone makes mistakes, but that doesn't make you a wrong person. That doesn't make you a bad person. How can you be more compassionate about your mistakes? How can you reflect on them? So what you need to do is you need to face your shame, the root cause of it. Where does it come from? Like I gave you some examples. What are exact symptoms that you experience in your life? Let me know in the comment box as well. At the same time, write them down in your book. And go back, trace it to the childhood or a preteen or teen space. Where does it come from? Did you have a parent or a caregiver who also was dealing with something like this? And face that root cause, where exactly this started happening. What was the first time or the worst time you felt this shame? Write it down and reflect on that experience. Was it really that bad? How many of the people actually truly remember that you went through something like this? Like, I'll tell you about my incident that was kind of like that, played on my mind big time. I was young, I was in 4th standard, and I wanted to appear for an exam because everybody else in my class was appearing. And my class teacher particularly at that point of time was very angry with me. Now, I may have done something wrong at that point of time, and she was quite angry with me. And when I went and gave her my application to go for that exam, she got so angry on me and she just threw the application on my face. And she said, I can't even read your writing. How are you going to apply for this exam? And she asked me to go stand on the bench. So for that 45 minutes, that period, I stood on the bench. Everybody was looking at me, or so at least I felt that way. And that 45 minutes then eventually turned into a whole series of shameful rumination in my space. I kept on thinking about that incident, and at that age sometimes children are brutal, and everybody kind of laughed at me, and I just couldn't get that incident out of my space. And now when I reflected back on that incident, from where the shame stemmed, my parents didn't make me feel, but when I was small, that one incident literally shaped the trajectory of my life. And it didn't allow me, in spite of being really, really capable, it didn't allow me to go ahead and talk to more people, to network, to make sure that I build my business, my work in an appropriate way. It kind of attracted quite a bit of wrong relationships. It kind of attracted a lot of humiliation in my life. And when I traced that incident back, and I healed myself from that incident, realizing that my teacher was a human. And whatever she did at that point of time, she must have come from a compassionate, whatever view. And she did not reject me as a person. She rejected that part of me that, in spite of maybe she told me hundreds of times to improve on my writing. And since I did not, she had to take that drastic measure. And when I healed myself, and I could actually heal my inner child, and I could actually, forgive my teacher, forgive myself for being in that situation. And when I really look back, I still have my school friends with you, and these are 40-year-old friends. And when I talk about this incident to them, and they don't even remember it. is it really? We don't even remember. Because a lot of times we as human beings have a tendency to view ourselves and to judge ourselves so much more harshly than other people will. So forgive yourself for that incident or those incidents that may have happened. If it's parent, whoever has behaved in a certain way and whomever made you feel you're worthless, please don't be that person to yourself. You're much more worthy. Just because something happened in the past, you don't mean to continue to live in from that past. So make sure that you make peace with that incident or that experience that you had. Face your root cause of shame. Be more compassionate with yourself. Practice mindfulness. Meditate, journal, practice gratitude, whatever works for you. Dance in the rains. Make sure that you fulfill also the desires of your inner child. Make sure that you love yourself so much. Look into the mirror. And every single day tell yourself that you love you. It's for some people, those who suffer shame, it's a very difficult thing to do. You've never said I love you to yourself, and initially it may sound so frivolous, so childish. But if you continue to do so, you will start really truly going deeper in your emotions. And sometimes when you go deeper in your emotions, there's a possibility that there will be a lot more coming out. A lot of people shy away from dealing from their own inner demons is because they fear what may come out. And even if something comes out and you can't deal it on your own, seek support. Find a mental health practitioner who can truly help you to overcome this shame. Let me tell you, to summarize it, that if you're feeling shame, you're doing the biggest injustice to yourself. Because you are the one who's coming in the way of you and your progress. You are the one who's not allowing you to get into the bigger leagues and getting the best opportunities. You are the one who's keeping yourself in the darkness. Remember, the shame builds in the darkness. Throwing light on it, shining it is the best possible way that you can progress in your life. Make sure that you overcome that shame. Let me know in the comment section, what's the root cause that you have identified if you're dealing with shame? And make sure that you share this video with 10 people at least and subscribe to that YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. See you very soon.